it's really, really challenging for me to, again, sit here and tell you exactly what's happening in this market, partly because we don't know. And that is the honest truth. Here's what you have to understand about real estate data. It's old. It's a lagging indicator of current market conditions. Here's what I mean by that. Sip of coffee. Scotch, scotch, scotch. I love scotch.
I love scotch. I love scotch. Scotchy, scotch, scotch.
When you look at pricing a home, as an example, I go and I meet with a seller, and we're going to determine what we believe to be the appropriate asking price for their house and the ultimate sales price of their home based on market dynamics. We're going to look at everything that's been on the market over the past 6 months that has sold, everything under contract, and everything currently on the market that represents their competition. We're also going to look at some properties that did not sell. You know, these folks have already tried this price. It didn't work out for them. So that's a good representation of, an area that we shouldn't dabble in. But anyways, when we're looking at things that have sold up to 6 months ago, let's say that we found a property that we thought was very comparable, and it sold 6 months ago. Here's what you need to understand, and I'm going to kind of backtrack this for you. If it sold 6 months ago, that means that it was under contract 7.5 months ago, because things usually take about a month and a half to close. So at the time that it went under contract, which is now 7.5 months ago, let's say that it was on the market for 4.5 months before they put it under contract, which in a lot of these different areas of Charleston, that's how much time it's starting to take. So let's say that it went under contract after having been on the market for 130-ish days. Okay, so if you're following my math here, now we are looking at data that's a year old. If they went under contract after having been on the market for 4.5 months, and it took a month and a half to close, and that closing was 6 months ago, which still represents a property that we could use as a comp, then a year ago, when that agent was determining the price, they were looking at prices that were up to 6 months old. We now have an 18-month lag in data. And if that agent isn't accounting for the ebbs and flows of the market, appreciation, depreciation, what have you, then you're using old data. And if you're basing today's stats on information that's 18 months old, then you're either leaving money on the table by underpricing the property, or you just haven't priced the home correctly at all. And if you're not monitoring the market, if you're not monitoring the feedback, if you're not waiting to have those conversations with your agent to where that agent should be reading between the lines. And what I mean by that is, if you get 10 showings without an offer, it's a high likelihood that you're overpriced and you need to adjust your price. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. But if you're not getting the amount of showings you should be getting on a monthly basis, you might be overpriced. If you're hardly getting any showings, you might be overpriced. But you need to be focusing on the offers that you receive, not necessarily the feedback, because a lot of the time it's just a throwaway comment from the agent. We'll get into that a little bit later. But as an example, we listed a property for $315,000 in Mount Pleasant. It was on the market for a few days. I think we have about a dozen offers now. It's going to sell for way more than asking price. Obviously, I can't tell you that because I think we're still accepting offers on it. But, sellers hear stories like that of, we got a dozen offers on our property. And the next person that they, talk to and tell that story to, that now becomes their reality. That is their perception of what's going to happen in this market. Is it still a really hot market? And in areas it is. But it depends on location. It depends on the features. It depends on overall value for the location and condition and the upgrades of that particular property. If all those things aren't taken into account, then you're just leaving your sale up to chance, and your expectations are out of line. Real estate agents love focusing on the success stories that seem almost too good to be true. Like, as an example, and I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, we sold a $1.25 million house with multiple offers in 2 days. Full price. That is abnormal for that market, but when I tell that story, it leads you to believe that, wow, this guy is so darn good that he's going to sell my home for full price in less than a week. if agents aren't being real about the fact that there was an element of luck associated with that, don't get me wrong, I am not downplaying the fact that we have a freaking awesome system for selling real estate. And although it seems as though that sale only took 2 days, we worked on that property for almost 2 months to get it ready to go. Pre-listing inspection, staging consultation, pre-marketing, all of this interest that we built before it hit the market. And then as soon as it hit the market, we've got this nice foundational element of interest from agents and from buyers. And we opened up the floodgates, so to speak, and we got what we wanted out of the process. But that was a very strategic approach to selling that house. And that's, I guess, maybe one of the key words here that I'm getting after is strategy, pricing strategy, marketing strategy, timing strategy, strategy as it relates to the condition of your home and the overall value that you are projecting to the public in comparison to other properties that are currently on the market. You know, we also have listings that seem like they should have sold multiple times by now that still aren't selling. And it's frustrating as all get out because the seller is wondering why. And they're hearing these success stories from somebody like me that says, $1.25 million, sold it in 2 days for full price, you know? Hey, why can't I have that? Why doesn't that ever happen to me? Is what the sellers usually say to themselves. Or what are we doing wrong? Or what is my agent not doing? What is he or she not telling me? Obviously, they're not working. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're probably just waiting on the other agents to come through with their buyers and, field an offer. Sometimes that's true. For us, we're communicative with our clients. We try to help them understand what's going on behind the scenes. But it is no doubt stressful. And what we need to make sure we're doing a really good job of is providing you with an understanding of why things are happening, provide realistic expectations rather than unrealistic expectations or just an overall lack of expectations about that particular market, that particular price range, and what we can do to change the course so that we can sell that property. We are not the ones, quite frankly, that determine what a home will sell for. We can provide you with our opinion. You as the seller can have your own opinion of what your home is worth, and we can make decisions based off of those opinions. But at the end of the day, the market's going to tell us what the house is worth, which is why you rely on a real estate agent to interpret the data to give you realistic expectations. And the more they've done this and the more experienced they are, the more close those expectations will be to reality, which helps you plan, which reduces stress, which helps make you more money, all those fun things. But the market can change. And the market, as I mentioned before this long segment, the data is old. So we're still trying to figure out the trends as we're in it. And so I think the message here is that when you're talking to your real estate agent and you're meeting with them and let's say that they're giving you a pricing strategy presentation for listing your home, it needs to be understood that this is one of likely many conversations that you two are going to have about price as it relates to market conditions, fluctuations, trends, and opinions after having seen your home online or in person, and they've chosen to make an offer or not. It's a bit of a moving target, and I know that's irritating to hear, but it is the truth.